What up, y'all? Appreciate you showing up, hanging out, listening to my dumb ass. Like and subscribe. So, it seems like all the Donkey Unicorns and Ponies are celebrating because I guess Forza announced that they're porting Forza Horizon 5 to PlayStation in the spring sometime. I don't know when. Wish list now and all that stuff. Why would you wish list? Anyway, Donkey Unicorns and Ponies are a special breed, obviously. And they don't understand with the change of how the industry is going, that these companies need to adapt or go extinct. Now, Sony, PlayStation, believe that they can stay the course. They can do, hardware is going to be the number one primary thing, right? Blah, blah, blah. That's bullshit. They just don't have anything else to fall back on, basically. And they're too hesitant to do what Xbox is doing, even though they're going to do what Xbox is doing, because Totoki literally said, we're going to try to put our stuff in more places. Same thing that Phil Spencer said. Remember, like 11 years ago or 10 years ago when Phil was like, yeah, we're going to PC, let's go, day and date. Guess what PlayStation's doing now? Same thing Xbox did 10 years ago. They're 10 years behind what Xbox is doing. They are losing, they have lost 10 years of profits from PC gamers because they don't want to, and they're slowly kind of growing pains, like, okay. They're getting there, but they don't understand the PC, because Phil came from the PC. He was a coder making Encarta or something. I forgot what he was what apps, if you will, that he was in charge of back in the day. But he knows, and that's why it's like he's been there for so long, because he understands the industry that they're in more than the 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 people that were at PlayStation. They don't know the industry. They know how to business. They know how to sell stuff, sell a product, fool people. Say, hey, they want movie games. Let's make some movie games. We got movie studios. Let's make the games more movie-like. Good idea. Not sustainable, but good idea. Sure. And so, and I remember back in the day when they said, we have these movie studios, let's incorporate more of the thing. I was like, that's not a bad idea. And then we figure out, that's expensive, because FX are very expensive. DFX? I don't know. Digital effects? Do they call them DFX? I don't think they do. But, so this whole thing of Forza going to PlayStation, right? I'm like, how old is that game? That game came out like 3-4 years ago, something like that. If it was day and date, that's a totally different story. But this is like Sea of Thieves. It's 8 years later, sure, and it sells like millions. And I'm like, that's pretty good. So it's the same thing. And the other thing that people don't realize is that the games that they're putting, they did an experiment with the 4 games first. They did 2 kind of games to service games, and then 2 to single player, right? The single player games failed with a big F, right? But the multiplayers, was it Grounded and Sea of Thieves, seem to have had success. So they said, okay. So here's what I predict. There are going to be more games that go to PlayStation, right? But they won't be single player games, because they've looked at the data. Because remember, Microsoft is they're a data-driven company. They look at they have plenty of data points. They look at all this stuff. They say, okay, what happened? All right. Then they make moves based off of that. That's why I think they're very successful in like a lot of their predictions, a lot of their movements, because they've been in the data business for so long that they can see the trends, and they can see like emerging technologies, and they have the capital to invest in a lot of stuff. And everything doesn't pan out, obviously, but like AI is going to be here. cloud streaming and infrastructure and server farms. That's what the world operates on. So they have businesses that are in those, are a big part of those. And, moving forward, like I said, AI and all these other things, NPUs and all that stuff, they're investing in the future. PlayStation, not so much. I mean, they have some innovations that they incorporate into their hardware set and their products, but they're not like innovating. Like if you want to just example, go to CES. I know it's a little bit of a tangent, but you go back to CES this past January, and the Sony presentation had 0 games. That's an indication that PlayStation's in trouble, right? Also, it was all about movies and stuff, which is fine because CES traditionally was about games. That's where the games started. Then E3 broke off from CES, blah, blah, blah. But they stopped going to E3s. I mean, E3 doesn't exist anymore, but they stopped having a presentation anyway. And also, they ain't got no games to show, so they couldn't. But they were showing all type of movie stuff. They were showing like the Unreal stuff with the backgrounds and the, a gimbal. You put the car, and I'm like, okay, it's just like, it's a car gimbal in front of an Unreal, what was it called? What's the environment called? Void? I think that's what it's called? I can't remember. But it's like, okay, you're just putting a Disney ride under a Jeep, and then you throwing in some Mandalorian stuff in the back. It's like, I get it, it's kind of cool, I guess, but it's like, it's not frustrating because Sony has always had kind of a hubris to them. I mean, I've never seen a modest Sony or a grateful Sony they've just always been, we're the best, buy our stuff because it's the best, that's why it costs so much, because it's the best. They're making these $700 speakers, Bluetooth speakers. I'm like, what? It's only one speaker for $700. It's like glass and it's got a light in it. And I'm like, who's that for? For the whales. I was like, okay. And so I'm like, Sony needs to have a reorganization. I mean, I don't know if I guess they kind of had a reorganization right now, but it's more about the culture as opposed to the business. Because the business, yes, needed to be corrected, sure. But at the same time, it's like, why are you making a video game console? Why are you making a car? Why are you doing the things that you do? When how many people bought that goofy $700 speaker? I want to know the numbers. And also, if you notice, there hasn't been any braggadocious numbers from PlayStation, right? Oh, this sold this many, that sold that many. They've been silent. But like the numbers that do come out, I was like, oh, it's a leak. Oh, apparently Afterbot only sold 1 point something million. That's it. I'm like, really? 70 million and only 1 point. That's less than. What is that less than? It's so low. I don't even know how low it is. I was gonna say 1%, but it's let's see, 1% of 70. I mean, 1 million of 70 million is, it was like 3%. I don't even know what it is. 1.4 something. I don't know. Math is not my strong suit. Anyway, the whole Forza Horizon going to PlayStation is not a problem. Everybody who's crying, all the Xbox fans who are crying about it, like Tim Dog did back in the day for whatever else. Anybody who's crying or upset about it, y'all need to grow up, grow a pair. I don't know what you need to grow some brain cells, and think about the bigger picture. A lot of people don't think about the bigger picture. They get in their feelings. I spent so much money on Game Pass. This is a betrayal. I'm like, betrayal? What are you talking about? Do you want Forza Horizon 6? Do you want Microsoft to exist as a video game company? Xbox, do you want them to still exist? to make games, well, they're figuring it out. So you're still going to get the best deal. You're still going to get the games first, Game Pass, or vice versa. You get the best deal or get the games first, or both, or one or two. The only thing is like the bragging rights of, oh, it's exclusive and we're going to exclude you. It's like an exclusionary club, and that's a win because other gamers can't play it. But it's a loss of sales for Microsoft, who needs money in order to make these games. You see what's happening at Sony. They're like, yeah, buy these remakes so we can make new games for y'all. The games that you want, we can't make them because y'all don't buy those. But buy the remakes so we can make the games that you actually want. And, I mean, maybe you'll buy those, but and that's a whole other thing, right? If Microsoft ends up being the most sellingest publisher, I mean, they are number one publisher right now, but if they're the most sellingest publisher on PlayStation, and they're beating out PlayStation's own publishing on PlayStation 5, that is the pimpiest, pimp-slapping, pimptum I've ever seen. Microsoft, I said it before, Microsoft is pimping out Sony. Microsoft, Xbox is pimping out PlayStation, and nobody is saying anything about it. They're like, yep, y'all sold all those 70 million? Well, okay, whatever. Sure, we'll take your word for it. So we're going to just put this on here. They're Trojan horsing their product onto PlayStation, and PlayStation can't do nothing about it. Back in the day, Nintendo was not putting their games on Sega Master System. Sega could not put their games on Nintendo Entertainment System. Nintendo forbade other companies from putting games on Master System if they made games for Nintendo. That's how it was. That's how that exclusive thing was happening back in the day, and that's where this all kind of spawned from. But it was way different back then, you know. And so that couldn't happen. If it could happen, right? Sega was like, yeah, we can make it for Nintendo. We just throw it on there. We could get our sales, you know. If they had a 70-30 split or whatever, but it wasn't like that. So now it is. And so Microsoft kind of found a loophole in the whole exclusive and consoles and all that stuff. They're like, oh, wait, we could just... Because they already had games on PlayStation, like Minecraft and everything else, right? And like Call of Duty by, grandfathered in. And so I was like, oh, okay. Well, we could just slide it in there, boosh, and we can get that money. And that's the main thing. But anyway, I appreciate you showing that. Like and subscribe. If you have any comments below, let me know what you think about Microsoft pimping out Sony, getting that money. You sold all those consoles, now sell our games. Boosh. Anyway, I appreciate it. And check out the next one too. To wait.